Yeah, I think that'll be a good shot. 7:30 on Saturday, and it is a crisp fall morning. The sun's up, and it's just barely peeking over the. You could see it in the eastern sky, just barely peeking up over some of the buildings on the east side. The tops of these buildings on Central Park West, facing east. I mean, the San Remo, the Beresford, the Dakota building. Yeah, they look awesome. The ducks are up in the lake.
Non vuoi fare pubblicità, allora stiamo andiamo. Va bene, fa lo stesso, non mi interessa.
More than 240 languages spoken in Manhattan, probably the five boroughs. That was Italian. Yeah, if the race was today, the marathon was today, people would be pleased. The marathon starts in Staten Island, I think around 8 for when the first runners or cyclists go out. Yeah, the leaves are turning. Some have turned. Lots of green mixed with yellow and red. It's just very fall. A great time to be in New York City. Yep, all the porta potties are still here. The chain link fences are all still up, and they are ready for race day. I think everything officially closes down at midnight tonight. I'm not sure when they start taking the wraps off of everything, but I mean, I think I saw the average time for the marathon is around 3 or 4 hours, and I think the professionals start at 8:30 are the women's and 9 o'clock are the men's. I don't know what a record 26-mile time is, but I'm guessing they'll be on the west side. I mean, probably between 11 and 12. Yeah, the Dakota building looks amazing. The shadows on the bottom half of the building, but the top half of the building is lit up with that sun. Looks great. Take a shot down 72nd here. You can kind of see a little bit later in the day, a little bit later in the morning, what it looks like when the sun hits it. Also, once I cross the street here, we'll take a shot back at the at Central Park West. Yeah, the shot down Central Park West is. Let's see if I can get it. I walked up here yesterday. Yeah, I can't see it from up here. I walked up here yesterday, and there was, the tents were lined up for folks to pick up their runner bags. I might have mentioned earlier about the street closures. Here's a good shot of 72nd, completely void of cars, except for the one car going the wrong way. It looks like they're setting up tents down here too. Let me see. I can't remember if 72nd is going to be closed all day tomorrow. I would assume so. Our street's closed. Yep. 12 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow. 72nd, at least between Columbus and Central Park West, is closed. My guess is that's just the flow of traffic coming from the park. Mostly the runners and the spectators. They'll walk down to Columbus and Amsterdam to get food. A lot of restaurants are enticing runners, bring their bibs, and they'll get a free drink or free food. And since the Upper West Side is where the marathon ends, I mean, it's just terrific business for the restaurants and other businesses. I mean, this sun this morning, it is a clear day. If you've seen some of the pictures from like Brooklyn and maybe lower Manhattan, that rain that came on Wednesday or Thursday was a lot. The pictures reminded me of the hurricane or superstorm Sandy that came through in 2012. Just cars underwater. You might hear that horn honking in the background. It's also a good day for tow truck drivers. I mean, those signs have been up all week. There was no parking signs. I watched this incredibly short clip from Punchbowl News on YouTube. It's pretty cool. They do these pop-up events, not just in DC where they're based, but in Pittsburgh and South Dakota. I think that's where one of the founders is from. And they cover all kinds of topics, but they're very specific about their topics. And this one was about the creator economy. Maybe I put that in quotes, creator economy. I don't know who the gentleman is or who he represents that was being interviewed, at least in this. He was talking about YouTube in particular as a business. And I don't remember what the numbers are. I'll add a link to the clip in the description. I mean, he was more or less saying that, creators, as he's defining YouTubers, in general, I don't like to take portrait layout photos. I like them to be landscape. No specific reason. I think sometimes the photo calls for portrait. That's fine. But I like the context of the left to right view, not just of the subject, but what's going on around it. I tend to feel generally, at least the way that my eye looks for photography, is that context isn't vertical, it's horizontal. I could argue that part of that is because I use, a wide lens, a 22 millimeter lens, so I'm capturing more. But I could say the same thing about that portrait-wise too. Yeah, the guy that they were interviewing was talking about more or less that if that creator economy goes away, I mean, that's a lot of money that gets removed from the market for the economy, both from an advertising standpoint, but also from a revenue generating standpoint. Looks like there might be a show at the Beacon tonight with all the guardrails up. The Beacon is a theater between 74th and 75th and between Amsterdam and Broadway. We've seen a couple shows there. It's really nice. There's a hotel and bar next door, which is fun to duck in. Fun but expensive to duck in before a show. There's a couple of restaurants and bars in the area too that a lot of the performers visit before the show, which is always fun. I mean, in general, New Yorkers don't really go gaga over celebrities. There was a Jordan Klepper clip. He was driving to Brooklyn and he was kind of talking about that same thing. Like after a while, you can just go out into public and it's not that big of a deal. And his story was, as he was driving to Brooklyn, he was on a Sunday and he found a place to park. It was metered. So he parked and then he looked up or walked out of the car and was reading the meter rules to see if he had to pay on a Sunday. I don't know if you've ever read meter rules, but they're not always easy to understand. So he's standing there trying to figure out if he needs to, pay for his parking spot. And all of a sudden, this guy across the street yells, "Hey, Klepper, it's Sunday. You don't have to pay," and just kept walking. I think Jordan Klepper's response was, that's kind of New York for you. Everyone here is, by and large, always willing to help. yet they also know that they're on their way to somewhere else. They always put it in the context of flow. Like everybody in New York is individually in their own flow. And you might hear of New Yorkers that are gruff. That's probably because you busted their flow. Yeah, our street still has a bunch of parkers. I mean, I guess it's not until tomorrow. Maybe it's today. I don't know. But there's a lot of cars still parked on the street. I'm guessing by the end of the day today, those will all be gone. There's the Mermaid Inn. We will see you shortly. I'm across the street from a bagel place, and I can still smell their bagels. Which, to be fair, their bagels are pretty good. They come in 3 packs. A 3 pack gets you 3 bagels, specific bagels, not any kind of bagel, and cream cheese, specific kinds of cream cheese. A couple of options. I mean, that just allows them to move quickly. I think they're basically small batch bagels. So having those specific options allows them to move quickly. There's never been a time that I've gone there and the line hasn't been out the door. Granted, it's a very small place inside, always a line at the door. So I'm right back in front of the American Museum of Natural History. I learned recently there's a working space in there. Opens up at 10, which is a little bit late for me. Kind of good to know if I have to do some stuff in the morning. I also voted there yesterday, and I got a sticker that said, I voted on Halloween. It was kind of cute. I just passed 2 miles on this walk. My second mile was 20 minutes. And I have allegedly picked up the pace from the first mile. Not quite marathon ready. Would that take me 4 days to complete? Back to the creator business. There's that old line about working on your business versus working in your business. I think that mostly is aimed at like marketing and branding and selling versus administration and client relations. Seems like when you own your own business, time shrinks quickly. I think you realize that all of those, whether they're called shared services or general administrative services, are generally the benefit of working for an organization. That fascination of even in a role within a company. Say I work for a business, a very successful business. I'm a team player, a role, individual contributor, a leader, seen as someone who will grow and take on more ownership in the organization, whether in my current role or additional responsibilities over time. And then I leave to start my own business. I mean, that shift from the client being not only the organization you work for, but their clients, to all of a sudden, I am the organization and these are my clients. That subtle shift has to be, I don't know, incredible. I think a lot about that even with this podcast. I've been in my role with a bunch of different organizations over a bunch of years and have been incredibly successful. Yet when I start my own thing, this podcast, my own project, all of a sudden that mentality shifts to I don't have the, I'll call them constraints, maybe guardrails of an organization. And now I'm basically starting from scratch, even though that there's templates and ChatGPT and other tools out there to help structure and frame a project like this. Yeah, it's just one of those shifts that you make when you take on a new project, whether that's for yourself or someone else. The idea that you've got this framework in place, now you've got to recreate that framework without the guardrails of the organization around you. Not a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing either. Probably depends on the individual. It's one of those things you learn over time, much like everything else.